It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
From the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York, I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whatever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is this Saturday night. It's an HBO event, and I want you there. You know why? Because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be ringside for that great night of fights up at the Turning Stone. So get yourself some tickets right now. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Turning Stone banner. It's right there on the right-hand side. You can't miss it. And by the way, if you're going to go, drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, and let me know where you're sitting, and I'll come and find you, so you can buy me a scotch. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, don't worry about it. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Better yet, I told you guys, I'm getting old, and my mind, she's a-going. And you know what I did? I ordered twice as many books as I should have. So I'm giving you guys an early Christmas offering. If you email me, so you have to order it through the email, not through the website or anywhere else. If you email me, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, and you live in the United States, I will ship you a copy for $20 signed. So drop me an email if you're interested in that. Coming up later on the show, we got this week's Blast from the Past. Alex Papali will present this week's Blast from the Past. Another request. So if you have a request for the Blast, just drop me an email. This week, a guy that hasn't been out too long, but he's not going to be fighting either. Edwin Valerio. We'll be talking about him. Also coming up later on the show, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazzard will stop by. We'll get his thoughts on the fights from last week and the news. And speaking of news, big news. Two big topics today. First and foremost, my man, Anthony Joshua, who I feel is the best heavyweight in the world today, bar none. No one's even close to him, in my opinion. He was scheduled to fight Kubrat Pulev at the end of the month. Not no mo, because Kubrat Pulev got injured, and he's been replaced by Carlos Takam. And Carlos Takam, I'm going to give you a little thoughts on him here in a second. But also, big news for the sport of boxing, the fight that a lot of people wanted to see, including myself, in the middleweight division. David Lemieux is challenging Billy Joe Saunders for his WBO world middleweight title. The fight has been signed, sealed, and delivered, and it will be taking place on December 16th and it will be on HBO, and it will be taking place in Canada. Now, the exact venue has not been announced yet, so we'll keep you posted on that. I want to talk about those things right now. Start off with Kubrat Pulev injuring his shoulder. Was notified the promoter, Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn magically had a guy in place already. Joining us right now from St. Simon's Island to get his thoughts is my man Sal, Rocky Senecola. And Sal, it was announced the other day. We were off yesterday, but it was announced right after the show on Monday that Kubrat Pulev injured himself in training for his upcoming world title challenge against Anthony Joshua, October 28th. He's out, but Carlos Takam is in, and he was moved in pretty quickly. What's your thoughts first on the injury to Pulev, and second for Takam stepping up and getting his opportunity for a world title?
Well, you can't blame Takam. I mean, he's there on the phone. He's got the opportunity. He's got the chance. And, Pulev injuring his shoulder, I'm sure it's going to be documented. I'm sure it's something training-related. It could be torn muscle. It could be rotator. It could be anything. A capsule loosening up, bursitis. Who the heck knows? And just overtraining it. Who knows? But the bottom line is if he is legitimately injured and they're going to replace that fight, then, hey, whoever's ready. That's why Don Turner used to tell me all the time, as well as Richie Giacchetti, hey, you got to always stay in shape. You got to be ready to go if you get that phone call within 3 to 4 weeks. And so that's what you live. You live the life of a boxer, and you got to always stay in shape that you can get in the ring with anybody in 3-4 weeks if you had to.
First and foremost, I don't question the injury, so don't think I am. And anybody else out there, I'm not questioning injury, and the reason. Normally I would. I would be like, what's up? But,
especially when they have a replacement so quickly.
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a second. But the reason why I don't question the injury is because Pulev has been patiently waiting for his mandatory shot now for at least 2 fights from AJ. So, a guy that wanted this fight as bad as Pulev wanted it. I doubt that an injury would be faked 2 weeks before. But interesting you say this because the promoter of this event, Eddie Hearn, had this to say. He said, I received a call from Callie Sauerland. That's the promoter of Pulev. He says late in the afternoon to inform me that Pulev had injured his shoulder and may be ruled out of the fight. This was later confirmed by Pulev's doctor. He said the IBF rules state that the mandatory will go to the next available fighter in line, which was Carlos Takam. He said when the Pulev fight was announced, I made a deal with Takam's team to begin camp and be ready and on standby for this fight.
Wow.
When I called him this evening, they were overjoyed that it was a go. It's a very difficult position for AJ, having prepared meticulously for the style and height of Pulev. He now faces a completely different style and challenge in Takam. This hasn't happened in his career before, but he's ready for all comers on October 28th. Sal, what's your thoughts on the promoter having the other guy ready? Now, in order for him to have done that and make a deal, so to speak, he had to throw Team Takam some money. And I think it was a smart move on the promoter's side to have it ready. I don't smell anything fishy. I just think it's covering his ass. What do you think?
Well, Bill, it's a little. Yeah, it could be legit. It could be all legit, and that's what I'm saying. Trainers will tell their fighters to always stay in shape because you don't know when the phone's going to ring and the opportunity is going to be upon us. And I legitimately, this promoter was saying the same. It just was ironic that it happened, and here we are. The fighter is already set to step in as a replacement. And I'm not suggesting anything was illegit with the whole thing with the injury, and I'm sure it could be all proved if it had to be. And it just just a bad. I'm going off all emotional recall when I was supposed to get a title fight against Kenny Bazemore, and 12 rounder in the Garden. And then all of a sudden, Lenny Shaw, who was managing me at the time, said, "Oh, he broke his hand, he can't do it." And boom, in slips in Harold Knight to fight him for the title, and Harold Knight beats Kenny Bazemore. So I was a little pissed at that, and I felt, hey, you can't trust everything at face value. That's all. So once in a while I get a little suspicious. That's all.
Listen. And so do I, more than anybody. I mean, I'm with you there, my man.
You really?
Yeah. You've heard that before. You're right.
Come on, you little babe in the woods. What are you talking about?
But the truth of the matter in this situation is, it was a big event over there, and a big event anywhere. But I think it was a big event, and I think what we see is, and Dax has talked about this in the past. What we're starting to see, I think, is a lot of smart moves being done by the promoters on the other side of the pond. Something I think some of the U.S. promoters should rip a page out of. And I believe that Eddie Hearn was smart in saying, well, I don't want to jeopardize this fight. Anything can happen. And keep in mind, what if Anthony Joshua got hurt? I wonder if Carlos Takam would have stepped in and fought Pulov. I don't know. But when you take a look at Takam, obviously he's not, in my opinion, he's not as big of a challenge for Anthony Joshua, with the exception of what Eddie Hearn said in his statement about the size difference, because there's substantial size difference. Carlos Takam is only 6'1.5". I say only. I mean, a monster compared to you and I, Sal, but compared to Pulov, it's several inches shorter. Plus, we don't know how Anthony Joshua is gonna perform against a guy. He's obviously been sparring with similar height and size and body mass of Pulov. Plus, his last big fight came over monstrous Klitschko. So I think that might pose a problem. As far as Carlos Takam, ranked number 19 in the world by the computer. He's got a record of 35 wins, 27 coming by knockouts. He's got 3 losses, one being a stoppage loss to Alexander Povetkin, the other a draw. He had a draw with Mike Perez. His 2 biggest wins were against Michael Grant in 2013 and old man Tony the Tiger Thompson in 2014. Aside from that, I can't see AJ having any problem with Takam. What's your thoughts?
Well, here, Takam, the only thing he could bring to the fight is maybe the element of surprise. He's probably been training, and, with that in mind, he's been preparing for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has been preparing for him. So I think that, AJ is a pretty well-rounded fighter, even in his young career. He's got the makeup and he's got the experience, and I think he can adjust and learn in a short time that it's a different style he's got to train for. And that's what pros do. And the bottom line is, I think he should readily handle, maybe not easily, but I think he should readily handle Takam, and everything should be status quo. But like I said, Takam, this is his big shot. This is his once in a lifetime. This is his opportunity to rise to the occasion, to put everything else, the blinders on, to put the eye of the tiger, to do whatever metaphor you want to do. This is the one that he needs to definitely come out and be at his all-time best. And let's see if he can make a little piece of history for himself fight night. That's all.
When you take a look at Carlos Takam, his 3 losses were all when he stepped up. He was knocked out by Alexander Povetkin in 2014, and he fought last year. He fought Joseph Parker before Parker was a world champion, and lost a 12-round decision. His other loss came back in 2009 on his way up. He lost to an undefeated Gregory Toney by an 8-round decision. So, the history shows that Carlos Takam, every time he stepped up his level of opposition, he didn't fare too well. So we'll see what happens. But I got some more. Wait, there's more, Sal. I got some more news for you.
There's more. Come on, Ron Popeil. Let me hear it. I want that fisherman.
I got some more news for you.
The cookware.
No, the what was that? I have one of those little.
I have a pocket fisherman.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. I got one. My buddy.
And I bought his cutlery set. The one that there's more. And I even got the butcher block thing that he throws in at the last 5 minutes of the infomercial.
Let me tell you, those pocket fishermen were around for a long, long time, and then I didn't see anything. My buddy found them in some store somewhere.
You can see them.
Yeah,
they probably manufactured 23 million of them.
I know. I got one unopened, so if anybody's looking for a collector's pocket fisherman, I got it. But anyway, some other news that was announced. The deal is signed, sealed, and delivered for David Lemieux to challenge Billy Joe Saunders for the only title that Triple G doesn't have, the WBO World Middleweight title. This fight will be taking place December 16th in Montreal. They just don't know which venue yet. HBO will televise it. Sal, I'm glad that this fight was made. What's your thoughts on it real quick?
Well, you know me. I do like David Lemieux. And I think he is an action-packed fighter. I think he comes to the fight to win, and I think he lets it all hang out, whether he win, lose, or draw. But so I love the fight. I think it's a great move, and I think if he can beat and get past and win the title from Billy Joe Saunders, he's going to be a natural in line for the winner of the Canelo Alvarez Triple G rematch. And either way, it really holds that the middleweight division is going to be a division that we're going to be looking at and keeping our eyes on for a good while.
Well, they already have talked that the winner of the Billy Joe Saunders David Lemieux fight will be fighting the winner of the rematch between Triple G and Canelo. So looking forward to that. And, I got to give credit to Billy Joe Saunders because,
me too.
To be honest with you, his history has shown that he's not exactly an easy guy to work with in terms of negotiation. And it seems that he put his diva-ness aside and got this fight signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, maybe that is indicative of the money that he's making. And just so you know, if this fight had gone to purse bid, it would have been a 70-30 split in favor of Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, David Lemieux being held in his home town of Montreal, Canada, or city, I should say, and being on Golden Boy's HBO network, so to speak. It sounds like everybody was made happy. So the money, the split, I'm sure all sides are happy. So I'm looking forward to that one, Sal.
Yes, it's going to be a great fight, I think, and I'm going to be pulling for David Lemieux, but Billy Joe Saunders, he can give some good opposition. He's dangerous, and so I think Lemieux's got to prepare for him. I think he's got to definitely look at what the training films and what he can do, and his tutelage during training to offset his style and to set him up and to land some big blows and to get through his defense would be very, very critical. And and David Lemieux definitely can take a shot, and we've seen him do that. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. And my big question would be, as I've suggested, how many more fights does Triple G really have inside? I think he's going to beat Canelo Alvarez a little more convincingly the second time around in June. But does he walk away if he does? And or does he stay around for one more big fight? I think his clock is ticking, and I think he can definitely handle what he has to do with Canelo Alvarez. I just don't know what should happen before the end of that. At the end of that.
I got some emails to read. We got a busy show scheduled for today. We got Larry Hazzard coming up in about 15, 20 minutes or so, and we got our blast from the past. So I want to try and get these emails in. But Foist in Major League Baseball. National League in the National League Championship Series, the Dodgers show why, in my opinion, they're the best team in baseball right now. They beat up the champion Cubs 6-1 to go up 3-0 in that series. One more win for the Dodgers gets them a trip to the World Series. And speaking of World Series, how about the ALCS? The Yankees down 4-0. When Aaron Judge comes up to the plate in the bottom of the seventh, he crushed a home run. I had put the game on, and I started watching it. He crushed a home run. I believe it was the first pitch he saw, and then the starting pitcher was pulled. The Yankees put up another run in the bottom of the 7th to make the score 4-2 because they were down 4-0 when he came to the plate. And then the bottom of the 8th, the next inning, the Yankees tack on 4 more runs to go up 6-4, and that was the final. The Yankees come from behind a 4-0 deficit to win 6-4. That series is tied at 2 games apiece, making it very interesting in the ALCS. So I wanted to give the Yankees some credit there. What, Sal? What? I got to read some emails. Don't make it too long.
Question. Thank you. Hey, would I have a better chance of converting you and making you a Yankee fan or a Deontay Wilder fan? What's the better chance? What do I have?
You have a better chance of witnessing and filming hell freezing over than either of those things with me. But let's read some emails. First and foremost, my man Jesse says, "Hey, Billy C. and Sal, I thought something like this might happen to young Lubin." He's referring to Erickson Lubin being destroyed last weekend. He said it was just inexperience, and the moment was too much. I give him credit. He got up. And he tried to get up and said he was okay, but he clearly was not. Charlo was a lot of videos because they watch Fighters and Tendencies. I guess he meant Charlo watched a lot of videos because they watch Fighters Tendencies. Charlo do swing for the fences. The Charlo brothers swing for the fences. That's why they get the KOs. But in return, they're open for some shots. I want to see these guys battle for the top spots against Lara, Charlo, Andrade, and Hurd. He wants to see all those guys fight each other. I heard the attendance was about 8,000, and that's bad. Or is that fair for a semi-big card? Here in the States, we don't draw that like they do overseas. So I don't know. 8,000 wasn't bad for that, I guess. And quite honestly, Lara is not a huge draw because he's not an exciting fighter. And my thought, and I've said this all the way, the Charlo brothers seem like big bullies. They're always in there with smaller guys, and I do agree 100% with Jesse on this, Sal, that Erickson Lubin, the inexperience factor is what hurt him in this fight. I don't think this big stage was a factor at all. I think he was just in there with a bigger guy on fight night, and his inexperience, his lack of opportunity to fight better fighters caught up with him against Charlo.
Well, it's that too, and that's the facts. But the bottom line is too, there comes a time where a fighter, as he matures, he arrives. I mean, he feels the confidence. He knows he belongs. Sometimes they're tentatively scratching the surface of that opportunity, and they're tentative on their movements, and they're wanting to be there, and they're a little apprehensive. But like I said, when a fighter matures and he arrives and he's comfortable in his own skin and he feels he belongs and he deserves it and everything else, that's where a big momentum shifts. And sometimes a lot of it is psychological, Bill. And I think Lubin was just outside scratching that surface. And I think he had a lot to contend with emotionally and psychologically to get him into that fight. And obviously he didn't fare well at all.
Jesse goes on to say Leo and Mares must fight and battle the other contenders such as Selby, Frampton, Valdez to see who's the best. Eddie Ramirez was like Lubin in facing such a tough veteran, older experience in DeMarco. I think it was stopped a little early, though. First of all, Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares do not have to battle anybody else other than themselves. They've both been at the top of the division, so I disagree with you there, Jesse, unless you meant something else. As far as Frampton, in case y'all forgot, Leo Santa Cruz has already fought Frampton twice. They split. As far as, let's see, Eddie Ramirez fighting Antonio DeMarco, that was a clearly great example of why you need to progressively increase the level of opposition of a young fighter on his way up. And taking an experienced veteran like Antonio DeMarco too lightly, that, in my opinion, Sal, has to be fully blamed on his team. What do you think?
I think you hit it on the head there, too. A fighter should never take anybody lightly. And, whether a team could suggest differently, I still think it's the fighter's responsibility. and to do his due diligence, to take every fight as big as it is. And so, the team may have some influence, but I think a professional needs to be carrying himself ready to fight anybody and mentally preparing for anybody, and don't take anybody lightly, because like I always say, Billy, any given night, it could be your night.
This is true. One last point, and we're going to take a break. Jesse says, Billy, I hear everybody's going for Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux, and they say it's because Rigo's too small. But Manny was a flyweight, and look what he accomplished. Is Rigondeaux's skills, maybe he meant it's Rigondeaux's skills replace his smallness and size. Listen, Guillermo Rigondeaux is the example of the sweet science. This is a guy that doesn't land a punch on his opponent and then run to the other side of the ring. This is a guy that's right in front of you, and you still can't hit him. I think it's a big test for Lomachenko. Lomachenko learned the hard way that the amateurs are a lot different than the pros. So I like the fight. I think it's an even fight, and I can't wait for that one. So and people are picking Lomachenko because he's a more exciting fighter to most people, at least most people's opinions, than Rigondeaux. But Rigondeaux is a quality fighter. And I love this fight. And we're going to see if Lomachenko took this fight too soon or what. But anyway, hey, listen, hold that thought. I got some more emails. Sal and I will give you our thoughts on all of that. Is coming up in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I'm now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and fees bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you guys could be with us. Special shout out to all of our WGIG listeners over in Brunswick, Georgia. Glad to have you part of the show today. And speaking of glad to, I'd be glad to see you up at the Turning Stone this weekend. HBO will be putting on their event. I'm going to be ringside. I want you to be there too. Get yourself some tickets. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Turning Stone banner. It's on the right-hand side. I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senicola. We got some more emails. This is from my man Mitch, Sal. And he says, Pulov is out and Takam is in versus Anthony Joshua. He says, meanwhile, I was at the fights in Brooklyn, and Baby Miller said he heard it's Deontay who was on something after he injured his hand. LOL. Sal, we've always said that the guy that makes the most noise about who's cheating, who's doing this, is generally the guy cheating, you know. So
it's the smoke screen.
I don't know. Listen, Deontay Wilder. I'll be. My point with Deontay Wilder is simple. I'm not going to listen. I believe that people, you can't just assume stuff. You have to have some proof. But my only hang up with Deontay is simple. The guy pounds his chest like he's the best. He's never fought. I love when he said, the best are supposed to fight the best. Look what I've accomplished. Look who I've beaten. And that to me was so clear that he doesn't even know anything about who he's fighting and where they stand. I mean, you know, I was looking at Joshua's resume today when I was preparing to talk about Carlos Takam, and the truth of the matter is you can't knock his credentials. I mean, there are so many fighters on his resume, at least the last 2 years worth, that far exceed anyone that Deontay Wilder has fought. You know, I keep saying the only guy that I give him big-time credit for was Artur Spitska. I mean, I'm not giving him credit for Stavern. Stavern is not going to... Anyway, let me move on. Sal. We only have a couple of minutes here. He says...
MoveOn.org.
He says, I swear there's shenanigans going on with Deontay. I agree with you, Mitch. He says, Stavern and Pulov possibly... I'm sorry, he says Stavern and Pulov pulling out. Ortiz popped out but not suspended, keeps his rankings. A 44-year-old Freza Cuendo, who hasn't fought in over 3 years, gets the winner of two guys who don't even deserve an elimination fight, which is so true. He says, what the hell's going on in boxing? I guess AJ might as well give Vitali his shot. Well, how can it hurt at this point? That's how ridiculous all of that is, and my man Mitch is right on, Sal.
Yes, he is. That does sound like he hit that one right on the head.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Takam will perform a little well. This next one
I think he will.
Yeah. I think he can, just like that little blue train, right? And this one's from my man Johnston. He says, good morning, guys. He says, as you probably know by now, Takam has replaced Kubrat Pulev as the IBF's mandatory challenger for Anthony Joshua on October 28th. Frenchman Takam is rated at number 3 with the IBF and has been on the hunt for a showdown with the British star, and he gets his golden chance at ripping the title away from Joshua. Man, he's making it sound like it's going to be competitive. Pulov picked up his shoulder injury, and then he quotes exactly what I read as Callie Sutherland's quote, saying that he had already made a deal. He says, "What do you guys think? Is Takam a worthy opponent? I think it's better than having no fight." Thanks for the email, Johnston. I agree with that last part. I think that it's better than not having the fight at all, Sal. And I do believe it was a smart move by Eddie Hearn. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, he covered it as investment. He had something else ready to go. And, I'm sure it is all on the up and legit. I mean, he definitely had a good case to suggest that, he was looking to be taking preventive measures. And so the fight does go through and the fight date is solidified. So I give him credit. And I think it's a smart move and something we might be able to learn over here.
Yeah, I think it is a smart move, and I think promoters in the U.S. should consider that.
Bill, it's funny because as I was suggesting, maybe several weeks ago in the shows, these big title fights or those big championship fights or the big pay-per-view fights, sometimes they had multiple world title fights on there. And if not multiple title fights, they would have as a showcase, they would definitely have, and I think it's ideal, a great scenario. Whoever is fighting for that world championship, why not bring in some top contenders for that title to showcase them as a preliminary, because they'll be soon to be in line for that kind of shot against the winner of the title fight. I think it's a great way to showcase and show off a weight class.
No doubt. We got another email. This is from my man Joel. He says it was announced today that Lemieux and BJ Saunders were able to come to an agreement and avoid a purse bid in the fight on HBO in Montreal December 16th. I'm happy about this fight, and I'm happy it got made. I'm looking forward to it on HBO to close out the year on a high note. Are you and Sal as surprised as me that Warren and Oscar were able to come to terms for an agreement of this fight so quickly? No, I'm not. I think that it was the fastest and most financially rewarding fight that both these guys could have at this stage. I think Billy Joe Saunders' options were limited. Really, I mean, I'm sure they're looking at this as the least risk for him, even though I don't think he's coming out with a win. I think Lemieux's going to knock him out. But anyway.
Lemieux is going to tattoo him and knock him out.
He says
Lemieux may get hit. Lemieux may take some shots, but he's going to knock this guy out.
No doubt. I agree. He says also it was announced yesterday that I'm a big fan of. Sergey Kuzman will be facing Lucas Brown in Russia in November 27th for a regional title. I'm intrigued by the fight, and I'm hoping Kuzman can defeat Brown. What's your thoughts? He says, thanks. Anyway, thanks for the email, Joel. What's my thoughts? I got to be honest, Joel, I didn't know much about Sergey Kuzman. But now I do. He's 30 years old. He's ranked number 32 in the world by the computer in the heavyweight division. He's a small, I think, for a heavyweight, even though Takam is smaller than him. By today's standards, when you look at all the top heavyweights, they're all over 6'5" or bigger. This guy's 6'3". He does come in heavy. I mean, he is over 250, but so was Klitschko, and Klitschko was chiseled. He's 30 years old. He's 11-0 with 11 knockouts. With 8 knockouts. He hasn't fought anybody. All his wins, like guys against guys like Mike Shepard, Constant Eric, Benito Costo Jr., Darnell Wilson. I mean, these were all basically have become professional opponents that go in and test a guy. His first fight was against an undefeated 3-0 guy, but the guy really wasn't even a heavyweight technically. He weighed 199 pounds when Kuzman weighed 300. He also, when he fought, his biggest win when you look at him was his last fight. It's the most impressive win against Malcolm Tan, except Malcolm Tan was 39 years old and had a 9-year layoff after losing 2 fights against decent opposition. Prior to that, he never fought anybody. I don't know. Be careful with Kuzman, Joel, because he may he may not turn out to what you're expecting, but it is a fighter to keep an eye on. One last email I got to race through here. This is from my man Willie Wanker. He's in the chat room.
Willie!
He says, hey, Billy C, I just heard the disappointing news about Pulov pulling out of the fight and Joshua due to an injury. I also heard that Takam is stepping in. He says, well, that got me thinking about the following. As we know, Takam has been in training for a possible showdown with Joshua. He was told quite some time ago by Hearn to get himself in fighting shape just in case. That brings me to the point. Surely this is a disadvantage for Joshua. He's been training weeks and weeks and weeks on a particular fighter in mind, Pulov, and now he's got to look for someone else in style, which doesn't seem like a good thing to me. Takam, meanwhile, has been training with one opponent in mind, and that's Joshua. All this suggests to me that Takam will go into this fight with a slight advantage over Joshua in that he's only 1 out of 2 who has trained for the right opponent. What's your thoughts on this? It can't be a good thing. Real quickly, I'm going to say this, Sal. It's not going to matter. Joshua's going to knock this guy out. What's your quick thoughts?
Bill, my quick thoughts. Like I said, you're a world-class fighter. You've been in with different fighters. And you know what? Don't tell me that Joshua's never been in a ring with somebody who can replicate this style. So, no, he's a world champion. He's a world-class fighter. It's going to be just a little minor adjustment in his style and in his strategy and in his delivery of his punches and his boxing skills. But it's not going to make a big difference. Believe me, it's not going to make a big difference.
I agree. It certainly isn't, and Anthony Joshua has to prove stuff just like this. Listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I will have Larry Hazzard on the phone. Sal's going to have a chance to fill up his coffee and go to the toilet, and then we'll be doing our blast from the past after that. So
easy.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few.
Billy C will be right back.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
Graze.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining us right now is Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner and my man, Larry Hazzard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Billy. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. You got a big fight coming up in Jersey this weekend, but before we talk about that, a couple fights from last week I wanted to get your thoughts on. First and foremost, the fight between Jermell Charlo and Erickson Lubin. You know, I don't want to sound negative about the Charlo brothers, but, you know, they seem to always be in with guys that they have a significant advantage over, not only physically, like because they seem like monsters in the ring, but also, like in this case against Erickson Lubin, experience. And I don't blame that on Charlo. I blame that on Team Lubin. But, I mean, it didn't really show me anything. I was really looking forward to see, you know, if something would come out of this fight that could make me really give an opinion on how good at least Jermell is. What was your thoughts on this fight?
Well, I'm glad you say you don't really blame it on them, on the Charlos. You know, they fight who they put in front of them, and they win. So, can't argue with that. I do share your views as it relates to I was looking and hoping to really see a greater challenge so that I could really see exactly what these Charlo brothers have, specifically Jermell. I think that kid that he fought, that Lubin, the kid just looked like he was overwhelmed coming in. You know, I look at body language, I look at the body types of the fighters, you know, and a lot of the other little personal telltale signs that I like, as you might say, sizing them up. Something about the Lubin kid just told me, even before the first bell, man, I think this kid is out of his league tonight. He just looked so immature relative to Charlo. Charlo just seemed going in like this was going to be a gift. And it unfortunately turned out to be just that. I don't even think Charlo knew the punch that he threw, whether it was planned, whether he was, you know, whether he maneuvered into that position or not. I don't want to call it a lucky punch because, I mean, you know, he just appeared to be in charge early on. And I really think they rushed this kid a little bit too fast. Well, he's 22 years old. He's 22 years old, okay? He really hasn't, you know, he hasn't really built a name, Lubin. You know, it took me a while to even try to reconcile or, you know, who did he fight? Where did he come from? I just think that they rushed him. And listening, you know, before the fight started, that seems to have been some of the thought of going in, but they said that this kid wanted to be on a fast track. He wanted to get in there as soon as he could. And unfortunately, he found out that maybe that's not the good thing sometimes. So, you know, that's my feelings on it. Well, I really didn't see much from Charlo because this really wasn't much of a challenge, as we all know. So we'll just have to wait for the next one.
I think that, first of all, if I'm managing or working with a fighter, I want that fighter to be telling me he wants to go after the best all the time. But my job is to make sure that I don't put him in too quickly. I think what we saw, now I happen to have known the history of Erickson Lubin only because I had the opportunity to call his Golden Glove championship in the state of Florida. And, you know, I got a chance to see him, and I saw that, you know, he showed some skills. But, Larry, this is a typical path. If you look at Erickson Lubin's career going into this Charlo fight, he did not fight any progressively better fighters than from his fourth or fifth fight. And all these managers and promoters, et cetera, are so protective of the O because they feel that their fighter is going to lose value, which they do because of the networks. This guy never had a chance to get better. And all of a sudden you put him in with Charlo. And granted, I believe that the Charlo brothers really were given the same track as Lubin. The only difference is the Charlo brothers have the capability of sweating out all that weight. I mean, it's amazing to see how monstrous they look. And I'm going to get to the other fight too, but these guys don't look anywhere. Larry, junior middleweight? Come on. I mean, they look like cruiserweights in there. These guys are big guys, I mean, so yeah, I agree. And I also agree with you about the punch. It took me a half a dozen times to watch it, and I still didn't clearly see it. I mean, it looked like the camera shots, we didn't get a good view, but it looked like it caught him right on the chin real quick. At first, I thought it was a body shot, but hats off to Charlo. He improved to 30-0. The other fight I wanted to mention was the Jarrett Hurd fight. And there's another example. Now, Austin Trout fought this kid like you couldn't ask him to fight anymore, any better. I thought that what we saw was Hurd being exposed a bit. A guy that could fight and be aggressive, could take advantage. The problem is Trout's lack of size. I mean, you're talking about two guys that made 154 pounds for the weigh-in, and then the fight night. I mean, you take a guy like Tommy Hearns. I use this as a great example. Tommy Hearns, got low in weight and stuff, but he was monstrous from his waist up. He had those chicken legs and skinny legs. I mean, you could see where the weight was on him. Jarrett Hurd had tree trunk legs from his feet all the way up to his head. I mean, I would love to have known what he weighed that night because he just looked like he was 3 weight classes above Austin Trout. What were your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what you're saying there. Also, just to, thought back to Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns, aside from his frame, his body frame, physically, and I don't know exactly what the physics involved here are, but he is the premier linear type fighter with that punch. Those tall, lanky guys, Bob Foster, Michael Spinks, Tommy Hearns. That's the one thing that was missing in this fight. Tommy Hearns always had that punch. So as he, went up and down in the weight, he never lost the power. That we did not see with Austin Trout in this fight. And as far as Hurd is concerned, I think that he's a tough kid. He walked Trout down. He appeared to be much bigger than Trout. Trout didn't have anything in his arsenal to slow him down, except that in the early part of the fight, I thought that Trout, was giving him a pretty good challenge in rounds 1, 2, and maybe 3. But as the fight wore on, Hurd was able to utilize the advantage, whatever that was, in the weight, strength, and power to eventually, walk Trout down, and that's what happened. And of course, you could see the effect of the punches that were very visible, especially with the swollen eye and all of the others. And it was a matter of time. You could see that it was a matter of time because he had nothing, in my opinion, he didn't have anything to resist Hurd coming forward. Trout was trying very hard, but he didn't have any strength. He didn't have the power. And I think he was just overwhelmed by the body size and just by the overall punching power.
I agree. I think that youth helped Hurd, and the inability to hurt him as much as he should have been able to is what Trout failed him. His lack of power, like you suggest. If he had Tommy Hearns' power, we would have seen the title change hands. I mean, because Hurd was taking a lot of shots. But over on the over on the other fight night, they had Leo Santa Cruz fighting Chris Avelos. This fight wasn't competitive at all. I did think that the referee, Thomas Taylor, should have stopped the fight. I believe it was after the 6th round when Avelos was basically a punching bag. And, I don't think anybody would have complained about the stoppage if he jumped in between them. But his choice of stopping the fight at the end of the 8th round or during the 8th round after one punch, I thought was kind of strange, Larry. I understand the reasoning, but I thought that it was kind of strange that he did that.
He could have stopped it earlier. I don't know what goes on in some of these guys. Now I think maybe perhaps he thought or he realized that the fight should have been stopped, and so he just took that opportunity to do it. I don't know. These referees, sometimes they're just so inconsistent in their actions. So it's hard to tell what's going on. But I think that either way, you can't really complain about the stoppage. Because, we saw as we started getting into that fight that it wasn't going to be much of a challenge. I think another couple of rounds he would have got knocked out anyway.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. There's no question about that. But, the thing that Leo Santa Cruz does, Larry, with his glove, that back and forth, I think I know it's a nervous habit, but, it's slowing him down. Either age is slowing him down or that's slowing him down because you can't throw a punch when he's doing that. So he kind of has to stop that. And I know he's not thinking about stopping it, but I think I noticed a big change in Leo Santa Cruz. What do you think?
I don't know. As these guys, as time goes on, sometimes, Billy, they want to try new things, and you begin to see the wear and tear. I don't know. I think that all of those factors are contributing to it. I think he's slowing up, okay, and I don't see him. He's just not performing at the level that we used to. So we'll just have to see what happens.
The fight that I really enjoyed was Abner Mares. And I know he was in Gutierrez shouldn't have been in the ring with him, but I did notice a change with Abner Mares. And I'll tell you, if we see the same two versions of the guys we saw Saturday night, Leo Santa Cruz against Abner Mares, my money's going to go on Abner Mares. I mean, this guy didn't run out of gas. And he kept the pressure on, and he hits a hell of a lot harder. I like what I see in Abner Mares. What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with that. That there's no question that Mares, in my opinion, is just an overall better fighter, and he hits and he punches harder. And I think overall skill wise, I think that he's a better fighter. So he may even. That may even be a walkover if they ever get together.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to be exciting either way. But Antonio DeMarco, I love this kid. He comes in. He's brought in as the experienced name. Eddie Ramirez, again, a fighter that really didn't fight any top-notch opposition, was protected, et cetera, comes in. And Antonio DeMarco stops him at slightly under 2 minutes of the first round. You can never count out these old slick veterans, Larry. What do you think?
No, that's the thing. And see, these veteran fighters, they oftentimes, they're up and down, but you can never count them out because you never know on what night they're going to really shine. And that's what happens. And usually what happens, too, is that on any given night, everything seems to click for them, and they come away looking like world beaters. And so that's why you have to always be prepared and be ready whenever you're going against veteran guys. And, we used to see that a lot years ago, Billy. You remember years ago where they call them, they're more like journeyman fighters. But many of those journeyman guys from back in the day would be top-class fighters today, these veterans, because their skills were just so perfected. Minimum skills maybe, but the skills were so perfected that you never know what they're going to bring on any given night. And that's what we see.
Well, the reason why we don't see those guys anymore is because, they here in the States anyway, they've devalued a fighter with a couple of losses, so you don't get to see those guys on network television or any television broadcast. Now, you look over in England, why do you suppose that these British fighters and European fighters are taking over the sport? They fight those guys. They got a lot of those guys over there, Larry, and that's the big difference, my man.
Oh, listen, you're absolutely right on that. They fight these guys, and they should be paying these guys tutorial fees because they learn from these fighters. They learn those skills, and you're absolutely right. They fight the guys, and here in America, that's what's lacking. These fighters are just looking for somebody that they can knock out. Somebody with a 2-15 record that they can just go right in. And the fans are accepting it here. That's the difference.
I know.
The difference is that the fans are applauding it as long as their guy wins. They don't care that he fought a bum. They don't care that he fought some guy who should not even have been in the ring. And that's the difference, okay? And that's a very important point that you bring up about the difference between over here and over there, and why they are now coming over here and pretty much reaching a point where they're monopolizing the sport. Look, hey, right here in my own home state this weekend, okay, you got all of these fighters from over there, and very few fighters from over here on the card. You know what I mean? And it's going to be an exciting event because that's what's happening. These guys, they're getting that skill. They're learning from those so-called journeyman fighters that they have there, and they're not afraid to fight them. Okay, and they don't see the one loss or the two losses as the end of a career. And these guys they're tried, they're tested, and when they come here, they show those skills, and that's why they becoming very popular here in the U.S. now. And our fighters are going down.
You know why? I mean, one of the big reasons is, and it's not just the fighters, and it's not just the fans. The promoters over there are a lot smarter, and that's a great segue for me because this whole injury that happened to Kubrat Pulev, and I don't question the injury. Sometimes I question these injuries. I don't question this one because this guy's been waiting patiently to fight Anthony Joshua for a while now. He gets an injury. Then we find out that Eddie Hearn, the promoter of the event, kind of covered his ass, Larry. He went to the next guy that would be offered the fight, told him to start training, threw him some money. In the event that an injury happened, they would be able to slide this guy over. He would be ready. I look at that as a smart move. I look at that as an investment just in case move. Something that promoters here in the States, they're not willing to open up the checkbook to cover their ass. And then next thing you know, they're losing the whole fight. Eddie Hearn didn't. He had a backup plan. Now, I don't think that Takam is a better opponent for AJ. But at least he didn't lose the fight, and it's still an interesting fight. What's your thoughts on that move that he pulled?
I missed that last part, Billy. I missed that last part you said.
I said, what's your thoughts on the move that Eddie Hearn pulled by having Carlos Takam all ready to go, once the Pulev fight was signed, sealed, and delivered? I thought it was a smart move, something that promoters here in the States, they don't want to open their pocketbooks. They don't want to write the check.
Brilliant move. Brilliant. That's the part I had missed. Brilliant. Hey, and let me tell you about this Hearn. And again, what you're saying when you say the promoters here don't want to open up their pocketbook, see, they because their thinking sometimes is short range. They want all the money at once. Okay? They don't look down the road, which, discourages me and makes me wonder how much of an investment are they willing to put into the sport. They want to grab everything right away. And I'm glad you mentioned this guy Hearn. See, this guy Hearn, he looks down the road, and as you may or may not know, he's already now ready to invade the U.S. now. If I'm not mistaken, he's, over here now looking at a lot of the talent, signing these guys to promotional contracts. And I think he just signed this kid, Jacob, out of Brooklyn. I think Hearn just signed him up.
Yeah, Daniel Jacobs, yeah.
Daniel Jacobs, yes. So that's again is what we're talking about, the difference between over there and over here.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
And it's better for the sport what they do over there. Plus the fans are better in a way because they go to the events, they go to the live events, something we don't do here in the States, I mean, even a guy like Floyd, who's a king of pay-per-view, doesn't sell out arenas more than 10, 15,000 people. Over there, they're packing in 90,000 people live gate. I mean, it's unbelievable.
5,000 people.
Right. Crazy. One last thing I wanted to talk to you about. You guys have a big event this weekend. Speaking of world, the World Boxing Super Series is coming to New Jersey. Murat Gassiev against Krzysztof Lazarek. That's going to be – I wish I was able to come down. I'm going to be doing a fight up in Turning Stone, but I wish I could come down for that because that is going to be one hell of a fight to be the last fight in that the first leg of that World Boxing Super Series in the Cruiserweight division. What's your you got any inside scoops? What's your thoughts on this one?
No, they've been pretty quiet, but I expect that it's going to be a outstanding event with a nice turnout. They also have it's not a part of the tournament, but they have this other fighter, this Masid Salecki and Jack Kolke. These two, they're fighting a super welterweight 10-round fight, and it's for the WBC. It's one of their eliminators. And I think that's going to be a pretty exciting event, also.
Oh yeah.
So, I think it's going to be this Super Series. I think it's really catching on. But I think that if they did a little bit more PR work with that, I think that we'll begin to, get a little bit more excited about it. But I think this event is going to be pretty good, Billy. And I'm sorry that you can't make it down.
I know. I as soon as they announced it, I was like, "Oh, I'm going," and then the Turning Stone thing came up, and I do some cross promotion with them, so I am stuck doing that. But I think Dax might be going. So no, that's a great card, and it's coming back to Jersey. Hopefully, Schaefer can continue that moving. I'm surprised that we didn't get big television for the World Boxing Super Series. I'm really disappointed that none of the U.S. networks stepped up for that and got them all. Maybe the next leg, because so far we've seen two potential knockouts of the year in that tournament. One in the cruiserweight division and one in the super middleweight division. So it's been going good. You guys are gonna have a great card, and Jack Kolke is a good fighter. So that's. That co-main is good too. So I'm going to be curious to see what kind of ticket sales they do, since there weren't too many local fighters on that card. I think it still does well. What do you think?
Well, they have a hell of a Polish community in New Jersey, up around in the North Jersey area. Adamak did tremendous down at the Prudential Center. So I really don't know what type of PR they've been doing over maybe just centering in that area. I haven't. It's been very quiet in terms of a wider scale of advertising and PR, which is kind of surprising. DirecTV, I think, is making it available. I think they do have something going with that's a cable somewhere direct. If you have that hookup, you might be able to get this. But I'm like you, hopefully maybe that next leg, if enough excitement is generated, that some of the U.S. networks will pick it up. Because it's good for boxing overall. And what's good for boxing for the sport is always gets my endorsement.
Oh, yeah. Well, Maybe you and I have to go over to England and do a couple of shows out there, my man.
Okay.
I would like to go invade England. You know, I mean, they got some good stuff going on over there, man.
Yeah, they certainly do.
I tell you, some of the young promoters that are starting out that always get discouraged because they can't compete with the Golden Boys and the top ranks should rip a page out of some of the European promoters' books, because that's the model. They do old time grassroots promotion, and then they sign the deals that they're supposed to sign, and they promote the young fighters. They build them up from young fighters. These guys here in the States have a tendency to sign a fighter, keep him under wraps until he's 16, 17-0, and then he gets a television gig, and then next thing you know, people are saying he's exposed, and you can't blame the fighter.
Well, I think they call it greed. Isn't that the term? I think they call it greed, Billy.
I think you're
right. They want it all, and they want it all now.
No, and they don't want to pay. They don't want to invest anything to get it all either.
Nope.
No. But hey, listen, my man, enjoy the event this weekend in Jersey, because it's going to be a good one, and we'll get to talk about that next week.
Okay, Billy. Okay.
All right, my man. Have a good one.
You too.
That's Larry Hazzard giving us his thoughts on the fights from last week, and the promotional approach from the promoters over in England specifically, all of Europe, but England specifically. And like Larry says, they're invading the U.S. Be on the lookout, especially 2018. I wouldn't be surprised if they start signing some multi-fight deals with HBO. And maybe Daniel Jacobs was the beginning of that. Larry mentioned, and then as we know, in addition to signing with the European fighter, Daniel Jacobs also signed a multi-fight deal with HBO. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, this week's Blast from the Past. He hasn't been out too long. He's not a typical old-time fighter, but he was a request by you guys, so don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And, we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And we're supposed to have Alex Perpali join us for this week's Blast from the Past. But he's not here. So no problem. We will move on. And I wanted to just talk. If you guys are looking for something to do this weekend, come on up to the Turning Stone Resort and Casino up in Verona, New York, and watch a great HBO card. I'm going to be ringside, so come on down and visit and enjoy yourself at the Turning Stone, because it is a great place to see fights. There's no bad seat in the house, and you can get yourself some tickets right now by visiting BillyCBoxing.com and clicking on the Turning Stone fight poster, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. So we'd like to see you there. And drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and let me know where you're sitting, and I'll try to find you. But anyway, earlier we were talking about some different fights that were finally signed, sealed, and delivered. One of them being Billy Joe Saunders and David Lemieux. And joining us again with very quick notice is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, I know you're a big David Lemieux fan, and this is going to be a big opportunity, I think, for Billy Joe Saunders to make a splash here in the U.S. I mean, every time we hear Billy Joe Saunders' name, we hear him talking some smack. You and I joke about him saying, I want Triple G, I just need 18 months to prepare for him, and stuff like that. But I think that this is a big fight, not only for Lemieux, because he, once again, will put the pressure on himself fighting in front of his hometown, but Billy Joe Saunders has a lot to prove. Should he beat Lemieux in this fight, I think it really catapults his value, and a lot of doors will open up for him. What's your thoughts on his chances against your boy David Lemieux?
All right. Here we go. This is what you would call a significant fight, and definitely one that is going to help direct where the middleweight division is over the next 6 months to a year. I think that David Lemieux has got a great opportunity. I think he is the favorite going into this fight. I think Billy Joe Saunders is a good fighter. He's no slouch. The guy could fight. I think, are his hands and his boxing skills as good as his mouth and as good as his desire to take 18 months and train and prepare for a fight? Hey, I don't think it's quite there, but, I think that he could definitely put up a fight. And like I always say, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say it. any given night. We don't know who's going to show up in a ring. We just could assume, based on past performances, it's almost like this the investment. Future results are not indicative of past performances. So we don't know. But I think that David Lemieux should handle Billy Joe Saunders fairly well. And I think he will be explosive with his punching power. And he will. It doesn't have to be a pretty fight, because sometimes they're not with Dave Lemieux, but they're effective. And I think he will be effective and be the winner later. But I think it's a significant fight. I think it's a great fight for both guys. And I don't think a loss either way sets them back greatly. I think a loss to Billy Joe Saunders definitely will have him chisel his way back up and try to keep in the mix. I'm sure they're going to maybe have a rematch clause in there somewhere. But I also think a David Lemieux victory or loss, same thing. David Lemieux has lost before, but he's climbed back into the mix because he's got that freakish punching power and he's got the ability to take a shot, and he's always exciting to watch. So I think it's going to be a good fight for both, and I don't think it'll set them back, whoever loses.
Well, David Lemieux, former world champion, exciting fighter.
Yes.
He has so much going on with that because of the excitement factor. And, we're always talking about that a lot. And David Lemieux, he started off his career being overprotected a bit, decided to leave his management, lost a couple of fights. And then now he seemingly has gotten his career back on track. And some of the wrongs that he discovered along the way, specifically conditioning and stuff like that, he seems to have corrected. I think we see a more mature, better David Lemieux now. And I think that even though he will have some pressure on him fighting in Montreal in a big fight, once again for a world title, with the winner of the rematch between Triple G and Canelo on the line, I think I agree with you 100%. He's going to step up. But on the other hand, I also think that Billy Joe Saunders has a lot to prove. He's got to shut guys like me up. He's finally fighting a guy that we're claiming, or at least we know is a top world fighter in Lemieux. So I think both fighters and the whole situation that they were able to come to a deal, making both sides happy. I think we're in for a good fight. I don't see this fight being a cash-out fight for Saunders. I think this is he wants to prove to the world type of a fight. I just hope he doesn't bring his son and has his son start kicking everybody in the privates. Yeah, kicking everybody in the privates like he did to poor Willie Monroe Jr. But anyway, something that I was talking with Larry about, and we were talking basically, I don't know if you were listening, but you and I have talked about this many, many times about the fights over in England and the level of fighters that the fighters fight on their way up, et cetera, et cetera. The result of this, and whether people want to believe it here in the States, whether they drink the Kool-Aid of certain fighters and believe the smoke screen, et cetera, the bottom line is the British fighters, European fighters in general, are taking over the sport. And I think that one of the underlying reasons, and one of the main reasons actually, is the fact that they fight real fights against guys that I call a real fighter, Sal. But when you look at them not knowing a fighter and not looking into it, and you see a guy that's got a record, let's say, of 28-11, a lot of young fans today who have been brainwashed by certain fighters throughout the last decade to believe that undefeated records equal quality would look at a fighter with a 28-11 record and say to themselves, oh, this guy can't be good. And these are the exact fighters that a lot of these British fighters are fighting, which makes them better as time goes on. And I'm not suggesting that any fighter with a 28-11 record is good, but some of these guys that were journeymen, that seem to not exist here in the States anymore, I believe are helping these European fighters get to the stage that they are.
Well, I think you're right, and you can't count a fighter out. I mean, I go reference back. I think it was Mike Hercules Weaver who had a a winning record, but he had quite a few losses. By the time he got a title shot, he may have even had close to double-digit losses on his record. And you would think, well, what kind of fighter is he going to put up against John Tate? Well, you talk about somebody rising to the occasion, somebody doing what he's got to do and realize that he's got a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He went out there and he rose to the occasion. He knocked out big John Tate with a right hand, and John Tate went down face first, and boy, he became heavyweight champion of the world. And he had a record of maybe 9 losses, 10, 11 losses at the time.
Yeah, no, well, I know one loss he's got recently.
Who are they going to talk about? I lost, pal.
But it goes a little deeper. The promotional viewpoint of the British I keep saying British, but let's just say European promoter is much smarter, in my opinion, than the promoters here in the States. And I'll tell you why. You mentioned the term you like to use a lot is grassroots promotion, which, for anybody that doesn't know, it's the guy that hits the pavement, the old-time promotion of an event, bringing a fighter around a local community, getting people to feel they know this person personally, put posters up, make people think that they're missing out on something if they don't attend. Something that doesn't happen now here in the States. Most promoters like to just use social media and that's it. Very rarely do I see posters up anymore. I tell you, one guy that does do it here in the States, a smaller promoter that I've worked with a little bit, is Jimmy Birchfield over in CES out of New England. He is a grassroots promoter, that's for sure. But anyway, my point is that young promoter that's starting out here in the States gets discouraged very quickly because they try to emulate the Golden Boys and the Bob Arams and stuff like that, and they can't do it because they don't have the chest full of coin that these guys have amassed. And they're, one and done, one show, they're out, they lose their ass and they're out, But I think that they should rip a page out of some of these European promoters, like Team Sauerland, who's been around a long time, but they just signed a new deal with a German television station, which is network television, et cetera, I don't know much about the network itself. But my point is that these guys should go for the lower gusto first and build a solid foundation. Everybody right away here in the States goes for pay-per-views. We'll go for a pay-per-view. We'll only charge $9.99, and even if we get 100,000 people, and they never get it. There were these internet-based fight networks that you pay for, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But something like a local television network to start out, maybe you're not making the big money. That's how it has to work, Sal. What do you think?
Oh, you know what I'm going to say, and I'll tell you what. It's the grassroots. It's the early cultivation. It's the things that will make the notoriety of what local fighters can be groomed to be into world-class champions or world-class fighters. I mean, there was nobody better in my era, and I will say that whether you love him or not, Lou Duva, what he did in the 70s and 80s to cultivate and develop a slew of world-class fighters out of Ice World Totowa. I was just happy to be amongst that group. But you had Bobby Ches, you had Scott Frank. Scott Frank fought Larry Holmes for a heavyweight championship of the world. You had Nino Gonzalez, who fought Roberto Duran. You had Rocky Lockridge. You had an old one that fought and was Rusty Rosenberger. You had all these guys, Bobby Ches. I mean, you could go on and on and on. You had then the Olympians joined in. Some of the ones from the '76 Olympics even came aboard, and Lou Duva would showcase these guys and myself out of Ice World Totowa, and we'd be given a bunch of tickets to sell. We'd be having our local family friends to come out and support us. The networks would get involved, and we would be fighting there as house favorites over and over and over again until we got on a world stage. And I mean, there was nobody that could write the handbook of grassroots promotion better than Lou Duva. And of course, he had the help of his family, from Dan Duva to Dino Duva to Kathy Duva to the Duva sisters and daughters. And I mean, they had a family effort, and it was stellar. But that was a grassroots, cultivated effort that groomed a lot of people for a world stage. And I think the European market, they get it, they do it, and the fans are recharged and revitalized to come out and support their fighters. And that's the way to do it for long-term results.
Speaking of Dino, I used to love him on the Flintstones. You know that purple.
You're right.
That purple
right.
dinosaur. But anyway, not that purple. Yeah, when you say, "Oh yeah, Dino," from the Flintstones.
That's right.
He was
the
purple
dinosaur barked like a dog.
Yeah, you go like this.
And that was the dinosaur. When I heard of Barney and all this, I didn't even let my kids watch Barney. I said, "No, you got to watch the Flintstones."
Well, I was just gonna say, when I was a kid, the only purple dinosaur I knew was a purple dinosaur posing as a dog named Dino on the Flintstones. And then years later, what do we get? The purple dinosaur. Oh my God, Barney.
Forget about it, Barney.
But anyway, we talked last week about Miguel Cotto fighting Saddam Ali. They had their press conference yesterday, and some stuff has come out about this fight. If you recall, Sal, they said, "Oh, well, we wanted Cotto to fight. We made these offers," and they list all these guys: Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia, etc. They all turned them down, so Miguel Cotto had to accept Saddam Ali. And I found it strange. And I came on the show, and I said, hey, the bottom line is, there's always more than one. Well, the truth is, there's always three sides to every story. Side A, side B, and then the truth. Just because if I'm going to fight Sal Rocky Senecola and I offer Sal $1 to fight, and Sal says no, I need more money, and then I come in the press and say, well, Sal turned down the fight. The part I leave out is I only offer him $1. And a lot of times I'll
take it.
That's the problem with fighters. Well, Mikey Garcia was a guy's name who was thrown around there, and it seemed that the picture that was painted was that Mikey Garcia, didn't want to fight, and some numbers were thrown out, and the people are saying, "Wow, that's a lot of money for Mikey Garcia. I mean, how much does this guy want? Is he turning into a diva, etc., etc.?" Well, some stuff has come out, Sal. Mikey Garcia was happy with the money. I think it was around $3 million he was offered to fight Cotto at 154. Now remember, he holds a lightweight title right now at 135. He moved up in weight and fought Adrian Broner at 140, and he still holds the 135 title. And he was willing to go to 154. No catch weight, Sal. No catch weight. And he said that the money was okay, but the reason he turned down the fight was that Golden Boy, and the part that nobody ever mentioned, but Golden Boy, all those fight offers that they threw out there and then were kind enough to publicize that the fighters didn't take, all came attached with a multi-fight deal that they would have to sign, become, basically fighting under the Golden Boy banner for a minimum of 5 fights. And Mikey Garcia said, I didn't want that. I was willing to fight for the money they offered. I was willing to go up in weight without a catch weight, but I didn't want to be tied down to Golden Boy for 5 fights. And he went and he responded publicly and said what pissed me off. And his team's going, Mikey, don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's over. We're going to go in a different direction. And you know what bothered him the most, Sal? What bothered him the most was that people would think of him as a coward, a guy that would back out of the fight, a guy that wouldn't, step up to that challenge. It almost brings a tear to my eye. And the reason why I say that, in all seriousness, is because that's the exact mindset that I want in fighters. That's what I think we're lacking today. A guy that made a smart business decision by turning down a big money fight because he didn't want to be married, so to speak, to Golden Boy, but then getting pissed off that he's being portrayed as being chicken and a ducker like so many other fighters. What's your thoughts on this whole scenario?
I think it's unbelievable, and you are becoming the Paul Harvey of boxing, and I'll tell you why. Remember Paul Harvey, and now the rest of the story. Well, guess what? You fill in that gap real fast because you could supply the rest of the story. That third quotient with the idea that, hey, guess what? There's another reason. Let's tell you the real reason. And what you just did, explain. And to have a fighter sensitive to the fan base saying that, well, I didn't want my fans or anybody to think that I walked away from a fight because I wasn't feeling I could beat him or brave enough to step in the ring. But here's the real valid reason. And that makes a lot of sense because, a fighter in his position, maybe he doesn't want to be tied down to one promoter or to this promoter for 5-fight deals. He thinks he could do better. So, I mean, that goes a long way. And I could definitely see that. Besides the fact that he's going to fight 20 pounds up, or 19 pounds heavier than what he's used to. So, not that he can't do it, but I think it would be he could probably carry that weight. He's a good size lightweight, and he has fought up a little higher. But I think there were several things, but you hit it right on the head. He didn't want to sign for a 5-fight deal.
Well, I get that, and there's always been two rules that I say to a fighter when he works with me, and you never want to turn down a big money fight, and you never want to turn down a world title opportunity, and that's kind of what happened with Erickson Lubin this past weekend. So even though I was kind of critical of his team, but then again, in my own defense, I would have increased his level of opposition a little more than they had. Just to prepare them for that opportunity. But in Mikey Garcia's case, this is a big money fight. It would have been for a title. Cotto does have a title. It would have been for some kind of recognition, so to speak, in terms of accomplishment and stuff like that. Moving up to that bigger weight class. But in Mikey Garcia's case, Sal, I mean, the guy has the money. He's got the belts. Now he's got to look, what's best for him long term. And I think he made the right decision. And I'm glad that he made it, wanted to clear the air, so to speak. And a lot of media outlets are not picking that up for some reason. And I think that I love Mikey Garcia. I mean,
I know you do, and I do too. I think he's a great fighder.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey Garcia is the example of a fighter that you want. I mean, I was critical of Mikey when he was in his little hiatus, was going through his holding his breath, getting out of his deal, with Top Rank. But I think overall, I think he made a smart decision. He's got a good team. He's seems like a grounded guy, and I love the fact that he's doesn't bat an eye moving up how many weight classes.
Well, that's it. I mean, he's moving up. When you look at it realistically, lightweight, you got junior welterweight, and junior middleweight. I mean, he's moving up 3 weight classes, and so that says a lot. And I'm sure he could probably carry it if he gives himself time to fight at that weight. And Miguel Cotto's not a super big junior middleweight either. So I think it would be a good fight. I think it would have been a good fight, but like we now know, he wasn't ready to settle for a 5-fight deal with Golden Boy, and that's the rest of the story, Mr. Calogero. I was going to say Harvey, but we don't want to do that.
No. But I agree. I think he did the right thing. That's for sure.
I think he did, Bill, because we got plenty of good fights ahead to watch with Mikey Garcia, and he's going to be in tough, and he's going to see some good fights ahead of him. And I think this one would have been good. It's good notoriety. It's great against Cotto for his last fight. I don't think he'll regret this, but like I said, look at where he's going to be over the next 5 fights in his mind. And look at where he could be maybe in the next 5 fights with Golden Boy's mind. Maybe, you don't know. That would have been the approach that I looked at to see. But the thing, do I have planned?
But the thing is that Golden Boy would have told him what fights.
Exactly.
What he likes right now is getting offers, and then he steps up like he did against Broner. But and speaking of Miguel Cotto and Saddam Ali, got some quotes here from from their official press conference, which took place yesterday. Miguel Cotto said, "It's nice to be back. It's nice to be at this place," referring to Madison Square Garden. "It made me the big boxer that I am today. All I could say is I'm going to Los Angeles to start my training camp. I'm going to do my best with Freddie Roach, as always. I know Saddam Ali will do his best. We're going to bring a good show here on December 2nd. Saddam Ali said, "I know I'm the underdog. I know a lot of the media are throwing bad words at me. Just remember, Ali, sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you. They'll never hurt you." But he says, "But if you work hard, you never know what's going to come. It's not about the money." Oh, yes, it is. It's about the opportunity. But I know I want to win. I know if I want to win, I got to come in 100% and fight smart. Cotto has tremendous power, so I'm going to fight smart. I'm going to use all my abilities, my speed, my strength, my feet. I'm ready to shine. For all of these who don't think I have a chance, all you got to do is wait and see. I promise you'll get a great fight." You know, I'll give you my thoughts on this comment. I got to take a break right here, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on this comment, and I'll give you a hint. They're pretty much the same as the last time we heard his quote when the fight was first announced. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now. I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant, or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And Sal, before I went to break, I said I was going to give you my thoughts on Saddam Ali's quote from the conference yesterday. again, I think it sounds like he's happy to be there. When he made I know I'm the underdog. I'll show you. I got to come in at 100%. I mean, I want to hear words from an underdog like, I will be 100%. I know I'm coming to win. Not I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to get a participation trophy just for showing up. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a lot of positive stuff. But the one thing that bothers me is he's already kind of, and I'm reading between the lines, maybe too deep, but he's already kind of, changing his game plan to expect a power punching Miguel Cotto, but Miguel Cotto's short. He's got to get in close. Saddam Ali should just focus on boxing and counterpunching, but not running. He says, I got to use my feet. That tells me he's thinking of running. What's your thoughts?
Well, yeah, suggesting that. And, not that I could overanalyze what words we've heard. Could it be some subterfuge? Could he want to put some rhetoric out there to throw him off course? Can he do that? Is he smart enough to do that? You don't know, Bill. We don't know. We don't know if this is what he's wanting to everybody to hear, believe, and expect from him. We could see maybe he's behind the cloth and inside the gym doing some totally opposite things from what he's suggesting. We don't know. But that would be my only thought on that, because you're right. Otherwise, if it's not a little subterfuge or a little bit tossing off the course of the map from what he wants Cotto to expect, I'd be full of Watt and vinegar and say, hey, you know what? These guys are going to regret picking me. I'm going to rise to the occasion. I'm going out there. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life, and I'm going to destroy this guy. I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to do what I got to do. They chose the wrong guy this night. That's the mindset and the mentality. That's what he's got to have.
True. And the only thing is, here I am criticizing him for not saying that stuff, and then I criticize fighters that could say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then they don't do it, So maybe...
Yeah, see that? He can't please you.
I know. I'm tough. I'm tough.
Hey, you know what? He's got to tout his horn. He's got to feel good inside. And like I said, anybody that gets that phone call that you're stepping in the ring for a world title shot, man, I'll tell you, if that doesn't get you up to be your best, forget about it. You don't belong in.
Exactly, and that's the point. I would like to have seen a little more positivity. Our trivia question today. I'm offering your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex uses for our Blast from the Past, which we didn't do today. I apologize for that. This is a tough question. I've gotten some interesting answers, but first of all, I think you guys should look into the Keystone Cops. The question is, what former professional boxer went on to Hollywood and became one of the Keystone Cops? I'm going to give you a hint. It wasn't exactly a household name fighter, all right? But this is you can find this if you search. So if you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. I know what your answer is, unless you got another one. Do you have another one, Sal?
You mean there's somebody else, Jack Dempsey?
No, that's not correct. But that's good, man. You're one of those guys. I can always.
I'm consistent.
You are.
Okay?
You are. And remember,
you did 365 opportunities for me to do that. One of these days,
you got one. You already got one. You already got one. Remember?
I know that.
Don't worry
for the next one.
Don't worry, kid. You'll get your chance. I wish I had a towel to throw at you right now.
I mean, let's. Who's the fighter that knocked Firpo out of the ring? Jack Dempsey?
Yeah, winner. Too bad that's not the question. So here's the question one more time. For anybody that gets it first, you got to email me because we go by the timestamps. If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you win your own copy of Title Bout Championship computer game. What former professional boxer went to Hollywood and became one of the famous Keystone Cops? Email me if you know that answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. On this day in boxing history, October 18th, in 1943, Jackie Kilura wins a 15-round decision over Jackie Wilson, the Battle of the Jackies, to win the World Featherweight title that took place in Providence, Rhode Island. On this day in 1989, Luisto Espinosa knocks out Kokora Galaxy in the first round to win the WBA World Bantamweight title. It took place in Bangkok. On this day in 1974, Sumunu Hangigata knocks out Charchai Chinoli. It's not Chinoli. That sounds like, hey, I'll take a cannoli. I'll take a cannoli. It's Chinoi in the 6th round. I try to make everyone sound Italian, In the 6th round to win the WBA World.
Growing up, I thought everybody was.
Yeah, whoa, you're right. To win the World Flyweight title in Japan. On this day in 1987, what are they doing to me today? On this day in 1987, Hiroki Ioka wins a 12-round decision over Mai Thornberry,
Your Thornberry, my
farm
Thornberry,
to win the newly created WBC strawweight title in Japan. Finally, I get a couple of names I can pronounce. On this day in 1990, Michael second to none knocks out Donald Curry in the 10th round to retain his world middleweight title. It took place in France. And on this day, our friend, mine and Sal's personal friend, Ray Mercer, knocks out Tommy Morrison in the 5th round to retain his world heavyweight title. That took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey, on this day. What, Sal?
Oh, man. I can't believe you just said that. If you have the time, I think that was one of the most vicious knockouts. Ray Mercer totally hammered Tommy Morrison into oblivion with ferocious right hands. It was devastating. I mean, Tommy Morrison should have had a headache for the rest of his life after that fight. You got to look at that knockout, Billy. Have you seen it? Do you recall it?
Of course I have. Come on, man. Nobody was a bigger fan of Ray Mercer than me. I told everybody when he was coming out of the Olympics and turning pro, I said, this is going to be the next big heavyweight champion. He became a champion, but unfortunately not as big as I had hoped. But anyway, hey, listen, everybody, boys and girls, children of all ages, ladies and gentlemen, in whatever order you want all of that, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'm going to leave you with this. Ciao, baby.